Hey, it's Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review for you. Going to talk about the brand new 4K edition of Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. I don't feel this is the greatest martial arts movie of all time in any way, shape, or form, but it is the best Bruce Lee movie. Hollywood budget, Hollywood director, Hollywood stars. It was the only chance he got at superstardom and died right before its release. The history of Enter the Dragon, I think I may have even done a podcast in the past. I've owned 5 different copies in the modern age. I had it on DVD. I had the original Blu-ray. I had the Blu-ray special edition with all the extras, which was actually very cool. Then the Criterion Collection put out all 5 of Bruce Lee's movies a couple years ago, and I have that. And really, the only reason to get this is if you want better picture and sound. If you are not set up for 4K, if you're not set up for Dolby Atmos, not set up for Dolby Vision HDR or any kind of HDR, then your mileage on this will vary because it really won't look any different to you than just an up-converted kind of Blu-ray. If you do have a 4K setup with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, this is an amazing restoration of a movie I didn't think could look this good. I popped it in last night. I got it in a day before its release. Was planning to do a podcast on it, so I had a little time, so I popped it in. I wasn't going to watch the whole thing. I wasn't in the mood to watch a movie. I watched the whole thing. This is a movie I've seen as many times as I've probably seen most movies. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, something like that, Ghostbusters. Something I've watched over and over because it's a decent flick. Like I said, The Raid, there are other martial arts movies that I would watch first if I'm going for specifically a martial arts movie. But if I'm going for a Bruce Lee movie, this is the one. The others are fine, but this is the one. So anyway, this is primarily a 4K review because I don't feel I need to review the movie. He only made 5 films while he was alive. This is the one. It was the big one, and he died right before its Hollywood release. It blew me away, the colors in the beginning. First of all, the image is incredibly stable. If you've watched the old DVDs and Blu-ray, sometimes at the beginning of old movies, it's kind of jittery or whatever. It's stable. When it comes up with the big Warner Brothers logo from the 70s, it's bright red, and it's a deep, solid red. It just, if you have a 4K setup, you know what this looks like. It looks different. Once you finally get into the island shots and the different colors, that first opening scene where he's fighting Bolo, the different costumes that are yellow, blue, purple, reds are popping, yellows are popping. When Han first introduces himself and he's at the big party and he's got gold shimmering threads in his cloaks, it literally shimmers. It's not that they've changed the movie. I just imagine this is probably what it looked like in the theater back in 1973. I was not old enough to see the film at the time. But it looks better than it's ever looked. It's just solid. There's no print damage. Now, the soundtrack. Older movies sound weak. We talked about this in some recent podcasts, but they have remastered this in Dolby Atmos, which it got a 5-point run release on one of those Blu-ray releases. But it still kind of sounded thin. This, when the music finally starts up, you can hear like the little hand clap guys or the glockenspiel or whatever over in the surround sound mix. You can kind of tell where the different instruments are in that opening music montage. It's like, wow, it's never sounded this spacious, wide, enveloping around me. And then little things popped out. There's a plane flies over in the beginning when they're in Hong Kong, and it flies over your head in Dolby Atmos. The scene where Han takes the apples and he throws them up in the air and his female henchmen, throw darts into them. Well, it usually happens off camera. It happens above where the camera is filming. But now in Atmos, you hear those hit above your head. I got to say, that's why I kept watching the movie. I was noticing things, colors, scenes, sound effects, and other things that I had never in all my times of watching this movie. What more can I say about that? If it's one of your favorite movies and a 4K restoration reveals more things in there that you never saw before, to me, that's a holy grail. It's a wonderful experience. So this was a movie I was on the fence about getting. I probably would not have upgraded the 4K if they didn't come out with a steelbook, to be perfectly honest with you. If it had just been the 4K, I would have waited for reviews and went, I got the Criterion Collection up, converted. It looks about the same. But it doesn't. It really... Warner Brothers, for its 100th anniversary, has knocked a few out of the park this year. And this is one of those restorations that's up there. I mean, I hate to, It's up there with 2001: A Space Odyssey. You don't think this rough-looking 70s martial arts film could look this good. Really does. Skin tones are great. The bruising makeup and stuff. The blood is very vivid. The red versus the black. Again, if you have the setup, check out the opening scene when Bruce is done with the fight and he's about to do that big jump. They do a close-up on him. He's wearing nothing but like a little bikini, and it's black. And it's so deep black, it's like black. I mean, it never looked like, it was kind of gray and kind of grainy in the past. It is a solid, like, dark black. The colors, the contrast, everything about it. This looks like a much newer, more well-kept after movie. And it's a classic. Again, it's 1973. Some of the performances, some of the sound effects, there's a lot of boards hitting board kind of sounds. Didn't sound like actual fists hitting things, but again, that's part of the charm of the film. As a Bruce Lee film, it's really good. And this 4K edition, hands down, one of the best restorations of the year. Yeah, it'll be on a top 10 list. And I love the movie. It was actually quite entertaining to watch it from start to finish. I haven't watched it in several years. So anyway, yeah, I did do a podcast review of it when I watched them all in the Criterion Collection set. But yeah, if you have the other editions for the extras and you don't have the 4K setup, then keep what you have and don't worry about this because there's hardly any extras on it. There's a commentary, the introduction from his wife, and that's it. There are really no extras on here. So if you have that special edition or the Criterion Collection, you have all of the extras. You really only need this if you have a 4K setup and a Dolby Atmos setup, or at least a nice surround sound and a very nice TV. You will see the difference. This is the best the movie's ever looked. Can't say anything more than that. It's best. It looked and sounded. Pick up Enter the Dragon if you have the setup to enjoy it and fully appreciate it. It's great. Really enjoyed it. So, sorry, it's kind of a short podcast. There's not much to say about the film. It's a classic. It's one of the only Bruce Lee films he ever made. He still got that magnetic personality in the scenes, and now you can see and hear him like you've never seen and heard him before. Enter the Dragon, available on 4K now. Go pick it up if you're a fan and you have the setup. Scott, I'm ROCKFILE. This was a podcast. Thank you for listening to it. I got many more up there. Please enjoy, and thank you so much for listening. Have a spectacular day.